Alrighty, so without any further ado, firstly, good morning and a very warm welcome to today's session. My name is Rory Munro. I'm a solution consultant here at Eureka Solutions, and I'm delighted to be hosting today's webinar, which is on NetSuite for technology and software businesses. Just a quick agenda before we get started, just so that we know what to expect. In today's session, I'll aim to highlight the benefits of a transition to NetSuite, which is proven to deliver a unified system for thousands of organizations just like yours, who wish to eliminate the need for disparate systems. We'll begin with just a brief introduction to Oracle NetSuite, followed by some of the key elements that make this an excellent choice for technology and software businesses. We'll then head into the system, where I'll show you firsthand how NetSuite can solve lots of the challenges that you might currently be facing, such as a lack of visibility, the process of recognizing revenue, and much more. Finally, we'll cover a little bit about ourselves at Eureka Solutions and our own integration platform, Basically, which can allow you to connect your e-commerce platforms directly to NetSuite, as well as many other platforms such as CRM systems, HR, etc. We'll then end today's session with a Q&A, so please, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, pop them in the Q&A chat panel, and I'll be sure to get through these for you at the end. So, just to give you a little bit about NetSuite, Oracle NetSuite, if you're not familiar at the moment. NetSuite was founded in 1998 as a true 100% cloud-based finance system. What does that mean? It means that you can access the system on any device, anytime, and anywhere. It provides a unified database for all data, ensuring that you have consistency across your business, and it facilitates quick data driven making decisions. Backed by Oracle, NetSuite benefits from robust security and privacy, so you'll never need to worry about your data integrity. All customers benefit from 2 automatic upgrades every year. This doesn't come at any additional cost to NetSuite users, but what it does mean is that you're constantly evolving your system to include the most up-to-date and enhanced features such as automation and also, importantly, artificial intelligence as well. And with over 41,000 global customers, you can rest assured that NetSuite is a tried and tested solution that you can rely on. So just a quick run through of some of the NetSuite functionality. NetSuite is a true cloud ERP system. Now, in the center of this diagram here, what you can see is that it illustrates that single data source for NetSuite. What we can then see in the inner circles is, as well as the ERP financials, we can see a lot of the other functionality that you would expect from a true ERP system. Things like CRM, human resources, e-commerce, project management, supply chain. We can also see the Suite app partners there as well. So there is a Suite development network in NetSuite, which allows partners like ourselves to develop bespoke solutions that can be used with NetSuite. So this can tackle things such as payroll and OCR as a couple of examples. What you'll also see in the outer circle is that no matter how many countries, currencies, subsidiaries, or languages that you might require for your business, NetSuite can scale to accommodate them all. Now, in terms of our experience and some of our customers within the technology and software industry, this slide provides a bit of a snapshot of some of our customers within this industry who are now enjoying the benefits of NetSuite since their transition. At the top left there, you'll see the logo for Sapio Sciences. They're a private equity-backed organisation who, among various things, require detailed reporting that their legacy system just couldn't provide. On the right, you'll actually see a quote from their financial controller, Paul, who attests to NetSuite's ability to actually transform their access to data and reporting. I'll not go through all of these, but you'll also see Emerald Technology just to the right of Sapio there. They are a multi-entity organisation who required a system that could provide compliance in multiple jurisdictions. This follows on nicely from the last slide that we looked at there, with the diagram that showed NetSuite's ability to handle those multiple languages, currencies, and tax compliances as well. If you head over to our website, you'll see much more customer testimonials and case studies there as well. So if you want to get a bit of a flavour of our experience within this industry, please head over there and you'll see a lot more information about that. So just to touch on some of the kind of key pain points that you might be experiencing with your current way of managing. One of the key pain points that we encounter when speaking with organizations in the tech and software industry is the ability to handle subscription management. The process of recognizing revenue can be a very manual, painstaking exercise, and it can also often lead to mistakes and non-compliance as well. Customers also highlight to us the challenges of accessing real-time accurate reports, things such as your annually recurring revenue, your monthly recurring revenue, and much, much more, as we'll see when we get into the system. But on the right, what we can see from some of our customers are some of the testimonials which highlights the efficiencies that NetSuite's delivered for them. So things in terms of like the time that it takes to complete revenue recognition, we can see that Sapio Sciences now require 50% less time to complete that as well. In terms of customers like Connect, we can see that within 2 years of implementing NetSuite, they've seen a business growth overall of 146%. Store Magic's highlighted that NetSuite's allowed them to simplify complex revenue recognition processes. That's something that they were doing previously in Excel, and it was only done as a huge undertaking at month end. Now it's something that the system simply automates for them. You can also see here as well things like the ability to manage upgrades, downgrades, renewals, and changes all within the platform. You'll also see when we get into the demonstration, the ability to handle multi-elements as well. So as well as things like your software subscription, the other services that you provide as well, such as implementation, support, etc. One of the other main pain points that we often find with businesses such as yours are accounting challenges. A couple of big buzzwords are always manual processes. So if you're currently processing things like bank reconciliation, purchase order authorizations, credit control chasing, these are all things that can take a lot of time if you don't have a system with automation in these areas. And that's something that NetSuite has delivered for thousands of customers. The inability to deal with complex business structures. So again, if you have multiple entities, multiple revenue streams, or you're trying to deal with that revenue recognition and subscription accounting, those can all be things that can take a crazy amount of time and also resource from your business as well if you don't have a system that can handle that. You also might find with your current system that you don't have the ability to integrate with other business systems as much as NetSuite is a full ERP and can handle a lot of the different things that you might need to in your business. It also integrates very nicely with other systems as well. So as an example, if you are using, for instance, Salesforce just now for your CRM system, that's something that has an integration directly with NetSuite, and you can get the best of both worlds. We'll also talk a little bit nearer the end about our Besincly platform as well, which is our own integration tool, fully cloud-based, and allows you to autonomously manage a lot of these integrations as well. And just lastly there, outdated ways of working. So if you've still got on-premise systems which come with those high maintenance costs, if you're still doing manual processes including paper, email, and Excel, you may find that NetSuite can transform the way that you do that. And again, you can see some of the instances of where manual or duplicate data entry has been reduced for customers, fewer requirement to hire new finance users, and improved processes such as accounts receivable, getting those collection periods much better, and thus improving your cash flow. Another huge pain point that we see for customers that are looking at bringing on a system such as NetSuite is that they just don't have the ability to report in the ways that they need to just now. So that could be things like forecasting and budgeting. You might be doing that very manually just now in spreadsheets. And that might not really give you the ability to, plan for multiple scenarios and to easily tweak and adapt that data, and also to have that, budget versus actual functionality as well, to see where you're actually at versus where you thought you may be, and then to use that to reforecast as well. You may find that you have variations in your income expenses, but you may find that very difficult to drill into and understand why. NetSuite allows you to drill into that and actually get the insights down to that detailed level. A few other touch points, things like tracking non-financial data such as headcount, reporting on things like your projects and your research and development spends. NetSuite gives you full visibility into this, and that's shared across the business as well. So through your departments, everyone has access to real-time data. You may also find just now that you're having difficulty preparing for audits or adhering to reporting standards. Everything in NetSuite has an audit trail, which makes it very easy for customers to do that. And it's also very dynamic. We see a lot of companies now that are audited and that they give access to their NetSuite system to that organization, and that can just make that process so much more streamlined and give you back that time to work on the business as well. And a lack of consolidated reporting and real-time data. You might find just now that your period end close is very slow to complete. You may find that by the time you've actually got access to the report, that the data is no longer of use, it's out of date. These are all things that NetSuite can transform for you. With that being said, and without any further ado, what we'll do now is we'll jump into the system just to give you a brief overview and a little example as well of something that will be relevant to your business. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sign in using the conventional email and password, but you'll notice up here in the top right that we also have the ability for single sign-on and also multi-factor authentication is supported by NetSuite as well. So if you need any of those more advanced security practices, that's absolutely fine. So what we're looking at here, if you aren't familiar with NetSuite, if you've not seen it before, this is our home dashboard or our landing page. Now, a lot of information here, we'll talk around that just now and give you the idea of what it is we're actually pulling forward here. Firstly, though, in the top right, if we scroll up here to Andy Morgan, we can see that we're currently signed in as our Chief Financial Officer. But what we also have here is a number of out-of-the-box roles as well. So with NetSuite, we follow the Suite Success implementation methodology, which means that we get a lot of out-of-the-box functionality. This means that the implementation time is much quicker and you're getting access to NetSuite's experience. And this has been brought from all the other customers that have successfully used NetSuite in the past and that have paved the way for organizations like yourselves. So with all of these roles, we have out-of-the-box visibility, permissions, and access to the system. These can be used as templates and adapted to fit your business, but what it gives us a really good foundation to start on. So you'll maybe see some roles here that are relevant to your business. You may be looking at some of those and thinking, well, actually, we've got one person that deals with a couple of those, or there's some roles missing. This is where at Eureka Solutions we can really help you to tailor these and make sure that your users have access to the system that they need. What it does also allow you to do, though, is to restrict and dial that back as well. So we don't want certain members of the organization particularly having visibility into absolutely everything for a couple of reasons. You may not want them to see certain information within the system, but it may also be to ensure that they're only seeing the information that's relevant to them in their role to make sure that they're not being distracted by other areas of the system. So we'll go through a couple of these roles today, mainly in the Chief Financial Officer role here and also the Revenue Manager. But all of these can be set up with their own dashboards to pull through any relevant information to them. At the top here, we have our global search bar. So this works a little bit like Google in the respect that if there's anything in the system that you want to view that you have visibility of, then you can type that into the search bar here and it'll take you directly to that page or transaction. What we also have is our conventional drop-down menu structure, so we can navigate to any area of the system using this. But if you're like me and you like to get to it a little bit quicker, we can use that global search bar, or we can use some of these quick navigational shortcuts as well. On the left here, we have our recent records. So what we'll see here is any of the records, top sort of 10 to 15 records that we've recently been visiting. And if you're like me and you've been in something recently and you need to quickly navigate back because you've maybe missed a little bit of information or you just want to view what you've done, then you can quickly get back into that without having to manually search for that as well. We have our shortcuts here for anything in the system that you are readily accessing, whether it's a report, creating a certain transaction like a sales order, purchase order, whatever it may be, we can add those shortcuts here, and with the click of a button, you can be taken to that area in the system. If we ever need to get back to our home dashboard at any point, we can click this home icon and we'll be transported back here. Now, just to give you a bit of an overview of the home dashboard here before we jump into a couple of reports, on the left here, we have our first portlet. So all of these white squares are our portlets. These are fully customizable, so we can drag and drop them and have them anywhere we like. We can also lock dashboards down for users as well. So if you want to set a dashboard and lock it, then that's absolutely fine. And you can do that for your users. In the reminders portlet here, what we have are any actionable tasks for my role or pulling certain information forward to me in the form of a saved search. So a couple of examples, things like our approvals. We've got our expense reports to approve here, purchase orders to approve. We also have specific saved searches. So what these are showing me are invoices which have aged past 30 days, which are for a high amount, such as 50 or £100,000. Now, these are all running from what we call saved searches in the system. There's a large number of out-of-the-box saved searches, and you'll see all of those here. We can easily drag and drop those back and forth, and we can set those up however we need those to be. What they do provide us with, though, is a quick navigational link. So as well as telling me that I have an expense report to approve, I can also click on that and it'll take me directly to that list of reports for review and approval. What we can see is an emphasis on getting us to information as quickly as possible. So we've got some quick navigational tiles to some key reports for the financial controller or the financial officer here. We also have our navigational shortcut group, and of course, these can all be customized to the role that you're in, making sure that you're only seeing the reports that are relevant to you. We've also got some quick visuals on the screen here, things that you maybe want to see day to day at a glance without having to drill into a report. We have a couple of KPI meters set up. So for instance, here what we're viewing is our revenue, but what we can do is select the drop down and we can easily see all of the other data that we can change that to as well. So things like total bank balance, any receivables or payables, etc. We can see another example of that there with our expenses. Now, one of the really good portlets here as well is our key performance indicators. Now, what this is doing is allowing us to select the indicators that are most relevant to us. So it might be things like revenue, sales, expenses, etc. As well as having that easy visual on the screen here, we can highlight some of those as headers. So we can have that here. We can also view those as a trend graph. So just by clicking on that, we can view it, and these are fully able to export as well. So if we want to print the image or send it out to someone, then we can do that as well. What we can do here as well is have some comparisons. So we can look at things like our revenue this period versus last period. So we have our current total and our previous, and we also have a percentage increase or decrease. So these are all showing greens just now, which is great. But let's say, for instance, those expenses for this period were greater than last period, then what we'd see is a red downward arrow here. You'll notice as well, these are blue hyperlinks. So if I want to drill into the data that makes up these figures, I'm able to do that, and it'll take me directly to that in the system. Some other useful ones here in the system as well. Income by period trend, revenue by period trend. You'll see how dynamic it is and being able to just hover over these and view the data. We can easily change. So we're looking at by period just now. If I wanted to look at quarterly or even yearly, I can do that with the click of a button. Can also change the view as well. So how do we want to view this specific trend graph? Moving down, as well as some more trend graphs, we have our financials here as well. So just drilling into a bit more information in the system, things like our bank balance, revenue, cost of goods sold. These are all standard out of the box, but this is also customizable as well. So if there's any data in the system that you want to pull through to your dashboard, then that's something that we can assist in setting up. And as well, just to take you through some more of these, we've got things like our weekly cash projections. We can see things like our top items for annually revenue by year, and we can do that right down per item as well. What we have here is our subsidiary navigator. So if you are an organization which currently has multiple entities, or perhaps you have growth ambitions in that respect, what we can see here is our top level parent company, and also broken down into our subsidiaries or entities there as well. We have an elimination subsidiary at each level. So if there are any intercompany transactions between your entities, whether it be sales or purchase orders, transfer orders, etc., intercompany loans, what we can have here is our elimination subsidiary. What that does as part of our period close checklist is that the system will run an elimination journal, and any transactions that have been tagged as intercompany will be eliminated to ensure that your revenue and expenses are not being overly inflated. One of the great things on the dashboard here is, though, by the click of a button, what we can do is we can select the subsidiary context that we actually want to view. And what we'll notice now is that all of the data in our dashboard is being updated. So it's only going to show me data that's relevant now to the United Kingdom subsidiary. So all of those portlets have been updated, and we can see all that information pulling through. If we go into the Netherlands, what we can also see, scroll up slightly, what we'll see is it's pulling through our currencies as well. So if you're an organization that has multiple currencies just now, you can transact in those at the entity level, but when you are reporting from that consolidated level, that will all be rolled up into the base currency of that parent company. And what you can have is you can either manually import your foreign exchange rates, or you can have that automated through either HSBC or Exignite as well. So as well as having these out of the box ones here, we can click personalize, and you'll see that we easily have the ability to add to our dashboard. So there's many different scenarios that we can add in here, and that just ensures that you've got access to the data in the system that you require. What we'll do now is we'll jump into a couple of reports just to give you an idea of how detailed NetSuite can give you that data. If we firstly just go into our income statement, or our profit and loss as you might refer to it, What we can see on the left here is our chart of accounts and all of our different nominals that are broken down there. Now, NetSuite puts an emphasis on having as streamlined a chart of accounts as possible. And the way in which it achieves that for you is by allowing you to tag transactions with what we call classifications. So firstly, if we go over to our column here, what we can see is the ability to view this report, but with the added layer of classifications. Now, what are classifications? We have a few out of the box ones. So we have things like class, department, location, and subsidiary, but you can also have an unlimited number of custom segments. So if there's anything at all that you want to tag against transactions and report on in the system to give you that ability to slice and dice the information, then you will have the ability to do that. If, as an example, we choose our class hierarchy and refresh, then what we'll see here is we're now getting this broken down. So just to explain as well, what we're looking at here is our last fiscal year for the parent company consolidated, but we can easily change the period that we're viewing here, and we can easily change the subsidiary context as well. But by selecting that class hierarchy, what we're doing now is we're breaking that down into all the services that we provide. So what we can see here is things like administration. We can see licenses, whether that be perpetual or SaaS. We can also see professional services such as consulting, data migration, etc., etc. These are just examples for this demonstration, but this would of course be tailored to your organization and broken down. But as an example, we can see how sort of dynamic that can be and having that parent and child relationship as well. What this also gives us, as well as our total amount along the right-hand side, we can see our subtotal amounts as well. All of this information is also fully drillable as well. So if we want to, we can drill right down to the transaction level. So for example, if we open this in a new tab, this is going to load up our detail. And what that's now doing is showing us all of the different journals, invoices, etc. that make this up. If we click on this as well, what you'll see is that from the home dashboard, we can get down to the transaction level in 1, 2, 3 clicks. And what that's now done for me is loaded up that journal. I can see the status, which is approved for posting. I can see all of the information that relates to this, the subsidiary being the Netherlands, any internal numbering, and I can see all of the nominals and the GL impact of that posting as well. So as you can see from this, it's very dynamic in its ability to report. If we just want to go back and see it in that sort of simplistic view, we can do. We can also collapse this to look at it from a more high level, or we can expand that out as much as we want to see the full detail. As well as that, with the reports in NetSuite, they're fully exportable. So as well as this being real-time information for everyone in the system, as soon as a transaction is saved, everyone has access to the same information. What we can also do is export under a number of different formats. So things like Excel, PDF, CSV, and Word. We can also print, and we can also send that out with as well. So we could send an email to a colleague, or we could set up an email schedule as well. So for instance, if you had a weekly meeting at a certain time, you could schedule an email to be sent out with this report 10-15 minutes ahead of that meeting, making sure that everyone has access to that up-to-date information. If we just navigate back to our home dashboard, one more report that I'll just quickly show you before we take a look at the revenue side is our budget versus actuals. So you can manage your budgets within NetSuite. What you can also do is you can import budgets as well. So if you are using Excel currently for your budgets, and bringing this fully into NetSuite isn't a sort of phase one requirement for you, what you can also do is you can import those budgets into NetSuite, and that will allow you to have your budget versus actual report. So broken down into all of those nominal codes, we can see the amount, which is our actual versus our budgeted amount. We can see if we've went over or if we're still under the budget, and we can have our percentage of budget shown here as well. What you can also have in NetSuite is budget validations and expense commitments. So if you wanted to set that up to say, if a certain transaction is going through, then a user can be prompted to say, just to let you know, this is going to bring us up towards our budget or even over our budget. And we can either have that set to say this transaction can't go through, or we can put that through the approval process, but flag the fact that this is encroaching on the budget. And that's just to give you as much visibility as possible and ensure that everyone in the business knows where you are. What you can also see here in the budget category is the ability to have multiple versions of that budget as well for scenario planning. So that is a high-level overview of the sort of CFO role. It's a good one for us to show you because it gives you a kind of very high level of some of the reporting, a lot of the information that we can pull through to your home dashboard. But bearing in mind that everyone's scenario for NetSuite is different. So as we go through and finish today, make sure if there's anything you want us to expand on, that you reach out and we'd be more than happy to set up a tailored demonstration. But I do have another process to show you in the system here. And for this, what we're going to do is we're going to use our revenue manager. So as I had mentioned to you during the slides, NetSuite can sort of transform the way that you might currently be managing subscriptions. So if you're a business like ourselves at Eureka, who offer implementation services, softwares, anything like that, which requires a subscription, then NetSuite can be your sort of one-stop shop for automating that. Just before we get into that, what we do see here as well is a slightly different dashboard for our revenue manager. So it's very similar in its layout, but the information that's actually been driven towards this dashboard is now much more tailored towards the revenue manager. Now, the best place to start for us here is on an item. So if we go to, for instance, our 1-year subscription item, that'll allow me to sort of talk around how we can set up these revenue recognition plans. So what we have here is a service item for sale, which is a 1-year subscription. Now, by having our items set up in the system, we can hold a lot of data against that item, which allows us to pull that through into transactions so that we're not having to manually import or add that every single time. So if we just talk around that a bit through our tabs, you'll see that we have our sales and pricing tab here. What this allows you to do is add things like a sales description. We can also have our full price book here. So what we'll see here is the ability to set different prices as well as having our base price here. We can also set alternative prices as well, and this can all be stored on the item for anyone that needs it. We can set up quantity break discounts, and we can also have multiple currencies set up here as well. So as well as having our prices set for GBP, we can also see that we have that for Canadian dollar, euro, and US dollar as well. What we can also do here is set our billing schedule as well. So for this particular item, we have that as upfront, but you could set that up in arrears, upfront, whatever your billing requirement for a specific item is. If we jump into accounting, what we can now see is the different nominals that will be affected by this item. So what we can see here is our income account and a quick navigational link straight to that. We can also see our deferred revenue account here as well, and any associated tax schedules as well. We'll come back to related records in just a moment, but if firstly we go into our communication tab, what we can do in this is we can have any emails, contacts, or any activities logged here against the items as well. In our revenue recognition or amortization tab, what we can see here is that we can set all of the rules that drive the revenue recognition for this item. So by having it at our item level, when we go to do our sales order or our invoice, we can have multiple items and multiple revenue elements, which we'll see in a moment, each with their own revenue recognition rules. So as an example, what we have here is we've got this set up as even periods prorated to reflect at the beginning and the end of the process, if that's been started in the middle of the month rather than the beginning or the end. You can set these up however you would like, and they're very dynamic in that. There's lots of out-of-the-box revenue recognition rules, but they're also fully customizable, and you can use those as templates as well. So with this one, for instance, it allows you to set your start and end dates and for the system to calculate that accordingly. But you might have items that are, a 12-month license subscription. You can set that up, and from the sales effective date, the system can automatically calculate that and generate that revenue plan, which we'll see in a moment as well. But if we do go into our related records here, we can see against this item all of the different sales orders, invoices, revenue arrangements, etc. That are associated with this. In our system information tab, that's where we also have our full audit trail as well. So in terms of ensuring that you can exhibit that information and see any changes that have been made, then we'll have a full audit of that. If we just jump into one of these sales orders just now, just to give you a wee look at this, you'll see that these all have their hyperlinks to take us to the transactions. What you'll see is we have a sales order for this customer. It's pending billing and it's been partially fulfilled. All of this information is being pulled through. Now, what we can see in the item level is our different items or different elements as well. So we have here our 1-year license subscription, the item that we just looked at. We also have a premium customer support tier, some licenses which are being provided by a third party, and also installation services. So as we had that set up at each item with our revenue recognition, the system is able to have all of these in the same sales order, but to handle those recognition rules separately, which we'll see in a moment. We can see all of the data against this. In terms of our reporting functionality, we can see, our departments and our classes pulling through here, ensuring that when we go back to those reports, that we can slice and dice this information as we require it. We can also see all of the pricing information pulling through here, as well as the tax as well. In terms of billing, what we can see here as well in this sales order is that all of the information stored on the customer record is pulled through so that we know where to bill that to, any shipping addresses if required, accounting in terms of payment terms at net 30. We can also have our communications here as well. So on that customer record, what we could say is, do we want this sales order to be automatically sent out to that customer? And that can be customer specific as well. So you'll see here that we don't have it automated, but with the click of a button, I could say that this sales order is to be emailed to info@builderma.com for our customer. You may have certain customers that you would just want that to always be automatically sent to, but there may be specific instances where you say, no, I'd like to actually reach out to them personally or over the phone, and those don't have to be selected. But what you can do is enter in that customer message there as well. If we go into our related records, what we'll see here is 2 records that have been associated with this sales order, one being our invoice and the second being our revenue arrangement. Now we'll spend a wee bit more time on the revenue arrangement, but if I just quickly show you the invoice, what we can see here is that we have been able to generate an invoice automatically from our sales order. So once our sales order was processed and approved, we have the ability to generate an invoice. And again, it's pulling all of this information from that associated sales order, ensuring that we have consistency with all of that data there as well. Now, it's worth noting for the sales order and invoice processes that you can have approvals set up too. So certain members within your organization, whether you do that to a supervisor or whether you have a hierarchy set up, maybe with departmental heads, whoever it may be, we can set up a approval hierarchy for you there. And as I say, we can see all of the information here for the invoice, as well as being able to drill into things like the GL impact to see the GL impact that that has. If we just go back to our sales order though, what we can do is drill into that revenue arrangement, which has been automatically created and triggered by those items. Now scrolling down, what we can now see is, as well as having all of this information collated in the transaction total, we also have our individual line items, which are our revenue elements. So I'd mentioned to you before, the revenue recognition rules are all coming from the item. So we can have that subscription, that premium support, those third-party licenses and that installation all separately. If we scroll across here, we can see they're all associated with the same sales order. But what we can see here are some differences in the revenue recognition rules. So we can see these three are all being calculated even periods pro rate, but we can see that one of them here is done on a percentage complete as well. And we can also stipulate how that's created as well. These are done on the revenue arrangement creation, but it could be done from things like the sales effective date, etc. The thing to emphasize here is that this is a very automated process. So once you have your items set up and your rules, etc., the system is going to automatically create these revenue arrangements for you. If we go to our revenue plans here, what we can see is that for each of those elements, we have an actual and a forecast as well. So if we just keep to this subscription item as an example, and we go into the revenue plan, what we can see is our total amount, the revenue recognition rules. We can also see our remaining deferred balance, as well as our total recognized to date. Now, if we scroll down, what we can see is that the system has generated a forecast for us here. So what it's saying is the planned period from November 2020 right down to October 2021, we can see that it has calculated based on that revenue rule, the amounts that should be posted to each period. Now, this wasn't even periods. This one has been put in at the beginning of the month. But what you would see, for instance, if we put a order on today on the 5th of June, what you would see in this percentage column here is that it would alter the first and last period to reflect the prorated amount. So if you needed to have that set up, then this would be able to do that for you automatically. Now, the process of creating those journal entries to move that from our deferred account into our revenue recognized account is an automatic process, but you can also push that through manually if need be. What will happen is journals will be generated for that period and then sent into your approvals. If we click on one of the journals here, what that will do is it will show us that transaction that has been created, and importantly, it's telling us that that has been created and approved for posting from that revenue recognition schedule. And if we scroll down here, what we can see is that GL impact and the different nominals. So we can see the impact of that moving from our deferred revenue nominal into our revenue. So as I mentioned, that is an automated process, but just by taking you through it step by step. You can see how the system does that for you. There is so much out of the box functionality here that you can gain immediate advantage of. But the benefit of using a partner like ourselves at Eureka Solutions is that we can ensure that we can tailor this to your business and make sure that you hit the ground running on your go live date with NetSuite. So as much as we're showing you some of the art of the possible here for NetSuite, if you want to reach out to us for a tailored demonstration, what we'll do is we'll understand a little bit more about your specific requirements, and then we'll be able to set up a demonstration that is impactful for you. So just before we go back to our slides and finish off with our bit about Eureka and Basincly and also our Q&A, just to give you a snapshot of some of the reports within NetSuite as well. So with NetSuite, you get a vast number of out-of-the-box reports. It's over 150 as standard, but with additional functionality such as revenue, that can be pushed over 200 out-of-the-box reports. So as well as lots of financial reports like our profit and loss, comparatives, balance sheets, etc., we can also see that we have a number of revenue reports out of the box as well. One of the key ones that we like to highlight here is our deferred revenue waterfall. And what this does is allows us to see in a clear and concise manner all of the information referring to those revenues and those deferred balances. What we can then do as well, though, is we can jump into the detail here and we can expand that out to see all of the information. And you'll notice as well that that can be broken down into things like customers and then further broken down into those different revenue arrangements as well. So we can see all of the information such as our revenue accounts, our deferred revenue balance, any unplanned deferred revenue, and what we can do is we can expand those out as well to see all the future periods and get a plan of what we can expect for our revenue there as well. So hopefully that's given you a good high-level overview. It is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, so if you want to see anything in more depth, please let us know. What we'll do now, though, is we will jump back into our slides. So just to surmise, why do we think NetSuite is a good fit for technology and software businesses? As well as having those fully automated core financial processes, hopefully we've demonstrated how much NetSuite can adapt to your business needs, no matter how complex. We've seen a number of different organizations. We've done over 120 end-to-end NetSuite projects. So we're well familiar in accurately capturing your requirements and making sure that as much as we utilize that out-of-the-box functionality, we get it right for your business. You'll have seen some of the advantages of the real-time reporting on key metrics, how we can instantly drill into that financial data, making your decision-making much more data-driven, and also improving those budgeting and forecasting aspects as well. Just a little bit about Eureka Solutions and our Basincly platform, just to round off before the Q&A, just so you know who we are. We are founded in 2004 on two core principles: technical expertise and customer service, and we hold those values through today in everything we do, from sales, marketing, implementation, development, operations. It's ingrained through our business. As well as doing NetSuite, we've also been a Sage 200 partner for a number of years. Since 2004, we've been a NetSuite partner since 2012. We're also now an iPlicit partner as well, which is a slightly smaller cloud-based solution. Over the years with NetSuite, we've won a number of awards: Solution Provider of the Year in 2012 when we started, and we've ensured throughout the years to pick up all the necessary accreditations to make sure that we're a decorated partner with NetSuite. And as I mentioned there, over 120 end-to-end projects now as well. What you'll also see here is we have a 9.7 customer sure rating. This is an external engine that we use. So after every single customer has had a support ticket with us, we ask them to answer some questions and provide some feedback. You can pop onto our website and you'll see all of those there. They're not filtered at all. So you'll see everything there from glowing 10 out of 10 reviews to constructive criticism, which we always take on board and make sure that we're advancing with. As I mentioned, we have our own integration platform, Besincly. Besincly has been developed from roots up by ourselves. It can facilitate a seamless flow of data between NetSuite and any external systems that you might have, whether that's CRM, e-com, marketplaces, much, much more. What it does is it offers our customers with a fast and pain-free solution to integrate with from a trusted provider that you know has deep experience in this area. So if you're wanting to alleviate the burden of manual data entry, which can take a lot of time and lead to costly mistakes, we've been more than happy to talk to you about Besincly as well, and even show you around that solution. And so lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I really hope that today has been useful for you if you've not seen NetSuite before, or if you have and you just wanted to learn a bit more about us. Then I hope that between the slides and the demonstration today that you've learned a bit more. I'll now go to the Q&A and answer any questions off there. If you've got any questions that you haven't put in, please pop them in now. And otherwise, thank you very much for joining us, and please do reach out if you want any more information about NetSuite or Eureka Solutions.